Pastor and his wife allowed me to come and just share some words of encouragement with you all during these last 2 weeks. God has been speaking to all of us. I'm happy to see some friends all the way from Clinton, North Carolina. Yes, the Murphy family. Amen. God is good, and the Jordan family have come to join us today to celebrate God. And isn't it all right to celebrate God? Yes. God deserves to be celebrated. Yes. The music was good. Let me give you a picture of how God is with music. I believe it is Ezekiel 28:13, where it talks about Lucifer being created with drums on one side and pipes on the other, and boys that can sing at least 5-part harmony like the praise and worship team sang, and the gentleman on the drums, I don't know who that was, I think it was Noah. Yes. But just think, God created Lucifer to do that as a covering cherub, which means his job was just to cover God and sing and play his own music. The human ear can hear anything from 20,000 kilohertz on the high end and 20 hertz on the low end, which means on the high end you have the cymbals like you have on the drum, on the low end you had the bass, and it was awesome. But remember, God never creates anything better than himself. So like in the heaven we'll see Zephaniah 3:17 open before our eyes, where God will sing over us with joy. And he's going to hit notes that Lucifer could never hit. So God hits just hit is going to be so high to shatter granite, so low to shake planets and other universes. So when God sings, it's going to be awesome. So we got to go ahead and ask the Holy Spirit to give us our ticket now so we can make it. Amen. Anybody going to that concert? I don't want to be the only one there. Anybody going to be there with us? God is so good, isn't he? He saved us before he got on the cross. We talked about last night in Isaiah 49:16 that he said, I have engraved you in the palms of my hands. Which means he saw us saved before he came down here and showed us what salvation is all about. So if he has that confidence in us, we ought to have that confidence in him. I am getting out of here. Y'all can stay here as long as you want. By the grace of God, when he comes the second time, we're going to be in that crowd. You have some awesome young people. Say that one more again. Awesome young men and women that win. Ooh, get some more water. Awesome young men and women. And in fact, you are awesome. Praise God for the 9 people that said it. I said, you are awesome. Give yourself a hand. I knew you just going to be very good. The stuff you're struggling with is just things Satan is trying to do to change what God made you to be. So I'm going to say it again. He created you to bring glory to him, and that's what we're going to do. Amen? So thank God for creating you. If we can look at the Word of God. If you don't mind, please stand once again. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 1. I'm going to read a few verses throughout this first chapter. Ezekiel chapter 1. I know it's on the screen, but if you have a word, look at the word. Or it will be on the screen. If it's not there, then look at the person next to you, gather around them. You have to see this for yourself. Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. Dimensions. Verse 2. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, The word of the Lord came expressly to Ezekiel the priest, the son of Uzziah, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Shabar, and the hand of the Lord was upon him there. I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and the fire unfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, and out of the midst of the fire, also out of the midst thereof, came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings, and their feet were straight. Their feet were straight feet. The sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, or a young calf, or a young person. And they sparkled like the color of varnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. What a sight. Their wings were joined one to another and turned not when they went, and they went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion. On the right side they 4 had the face of an ox, and on the left side they 4 also had the face of an eagle. And thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward to 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies, and they went every one straight forward. Whether the Spirit was to go, they went. And they turned not when they went. Verse 15. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like the color of beryl, and they had one likeness. And their appearance, and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Verse 21. Then those went, these went. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those rose, those. And when those that were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. Listen. Now the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creatures was as the color of the terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were their wings, straight, the one toward the other. Everyone had 2 wings which covered on this side, and everyone had 2 which covered on that side their bodies. And when they went, I heard a noise of their wings, like the noise of great or many waters, as the voice of Almighty, the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech. He's talking. And the noise of the host when they stood. He's trying to tell us something, give us a sign, some type of sign language. They let down their wings when he started to talk, and there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads, and when they stood and had let down their wings, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within. From the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire. And it had brightness round about. Verse 28. As the appearance of the bow. What did I say? The bow that was in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Our title, Moving Forward. Father, we thank you so much for blessing us this day. We have to hear you now. Please forgive us. Please cleanse us. But God, we have to hear your voice as we sit in the living room of your sanctuary. I pray, Lord, that you would let it be heard in the language of our hearts. Let nothing break our concentration. Please, Father, have your way this day. In Christ's name, amen. I know a man named Jesus who did great things on this earth. I know a man named Jesus that touched a blind man and gave him sight. I know a man named Jesus that went by the well of Bethesda, the pool of Bethesda, and healed a man that was crippled for quite some time. I know a woman that protected a woman's reputation when she was caught in the middle of her weakness. I know a Jesus that healed a little girl. I know a Jesus that called a dead man out of the grave. I know a Jesus that did all these things on the ground, but I want to tell you about a Jesus in the air. Because sometimes when we talk about Jesus, we limit him to what we can see and what we believe he can do. But God, through Jesus Christ, is bigger than anything we could ever imagine. And he's been trying to tell us in this chapter all week for the last 2 weeks that I am a great God. I am big. I am awesome. My ways are past finding out. I just sent a little of me in Jesus, but you can't understand all about me. But I'm going to break me down in dimensions where you can understand me to let you know, for me to let you know that I love you. I got something better for you, but I am not like you. I don't have to sleep. I don't need an alarm clock. I don't need anything to refresh me. I am God. I am self-existing, which means I don't need power. I am power. The darkness is light to me, and light is just something to give you an understanding of what it means to be able to see. But the light I'm going to show you is a light that I'm going to use for you to see me. So I need you to understand that I am God, and beside me there is no one else. I look to my right. I look to my left. There's nobody who can handle me. I am God, and you need to understand that when you go and walk on the highways of life, that I'm God. I whittled myself down and put myself in the size of cells inside of a woman. I decided to contain myself to help you to understand that I can live inside someone. And when it's time for me to come out, I can show you who I can use. She wasn't perfect, but I can use imperfection like perfection. So in other words, we have to understand the extra dimensional nature of God. Like in physics, which deals with time and matter and space, God is trying to let us know that through biology and chemistry that I'm dealing with heat and light and magnetism and the structure of atoms, because I want to break it down to you that I am bad. And there's no one else beside me. That's what I was trying to get Ezekiel to tell the people and get Ezekiel to tell these people. There's a lot of speculation about intelligent alien life in the universe. Some of the speculation has centered around the idea that these might be extra dimensional beings. In other words, there's folk on other planets not like us. And we're trying to extrapolate from these beings that we cannot see the ultimate being that we still can't see, who is God. It turns out that God, the God of the Bible, fits this description of extra dimensional. Stay with me, thinking cap time. It turns out that this is the God that can simultaneously hear answer all prayers and all people at all times. And not only that, he sees the actions of every individual at all times. You cannot do that if you're stuck in one dimension. So he hears every thought that's going on right now, every prayer that you pray. He's everywhere at the same time, and he's seeing everybody at the same time, driving, singing, working, resting, and even speaking right now. He cannot do that if he's at one place at one time. There's much evidence from the Bible and from science that dimensions or demonstrates that God must exist and operate in at least 10 dimensions of space and time. Other than those which you and I are confined, we're confined to this space, and you're going to tell me I don't want to be confined past the middle after 1 o'clock. So God is saying, I'm not confined to this sanctuary, and I don't operate within your time frame. God cannot have created the universe if he was a part of it. According to particle physics and relativity, at least 10 dimensions of space existed when God created the universe. I'm just having fun right now. 3 of these dimensions plus time form the space-time manifold that you and I live in now. We live on this ground, this atmosphere, that's one dimension. We got the atmosphere, and then we have the stratosphere where the space shuttle flies. The atmosphere where the clouds are. But you add the element of time, so we're limited to this time and space, which is only 3 dimensions. The movies in Hollywood try to get us to understand when they put out the movies in 3 dimensions, where we are, where they are, and the glasses that make them seem they're coming into your space and in your time, in your living room. We can't duplicate God. We can only try to imitate God and do a bad job at that. According to particle physics, this is what it really means. I just gave you 4 dimensions. The other 6 dimensions exist within the universe is incredibly compact dimensions of space. Believe it or not, even though it's a universe, it is compact dimensions compared to who God is. God must be able to operate in all of those 10 dimensions plus more in order to have created this universe. He tried to give us a hint of who he is in the Bible in Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 3. He says, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed, worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So everything that God spoke out, when he breathed out the existence of this universe, he did not use ingredients that we try to put together to dictate how God built it. He said, when I spoke out this universe, I spoke out other universes at the same time. So therefore, I'm not limited to one location, because I'm everywhere at the same time. And when I speak things into existence that represent me. Are we together? Yeah. And so we can't put God inside a box. The God of the Bible is invisible and cannot be seen, except he reveals himself in 3-dimensional forms, like Ezekiel saw, and that we can see. A being which exists in dimensions beyond our 3 spatial understanding of God, invisible to creatures. So the Bible describes God as omnipotent, everywhere, at the same time, crossing universes and dealing with beings of other planets all at the same time, while listening to our prayers, hear their conversations and ours. That's God. The God of the Bible is described as knowing all that we do. We can't hide anything from him. A 3-dimensional God would not have the ability to see through walls, because he would have been limited by space or the wall that exists between him and me, and could not have known what happens outside of his sight. So we understand that this God is not limited. So I may be behind a prison wall, but God still hears my prayers, because my situation does not limit his ability to save me from it. Is it getting clear now? So God gives us an understanding of him moving through walls like electrons and neutrons. He said, let me break it down to every time you get a CAT scan, I use that magnetism that I try to say what the Holy Spirit is drawing. He said, listen, when you go in that CAT scan, it gives you different dimensions of your body breakdown, which X-rays, gamma rays cannot do. He said, so when you lay down and those that CAT scan goes and breaks your body down in dimensions and shapes that cannot be seen in the human eye. He said, that's what I do with the human heart. I go and break it down in dimensions to understand who you are, things that people cannot see and know. I know everything about you because you are fearfully, wonderfully made in my image. So I can only speak to you in 3 dimensions because you can't handle anything else outside of that. But the key thing is not how great God is when it comes to talking to us. It's how great he wants to be inside of us. The Bible suggests that God created time and was active before time began, confirming that God exists on either side of time altogether in at least 2 dimensions of time. In addition, the Bible states that God can compress or expand time based on what he wants to do with it. That's why he said in Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 6, he said 1,000 years is a day, or a day is 1,000 years to God. Because he controls time and space. Time and space does not control him. So no matter how urged we are, we want God to come into our time and space and rectify issues. He said, I stretch your situation out for 1,000 years, and based on my calculation, you're going to be fine. You may think everything's going to fall apart today, but I know what's happening tomorrow, and I see you free tomorrow. Stop worrying about today. I tried to tell you, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all the things you need will be added to you. Don't take thought of tomorrow. Don't go into a dimension that you cannot handle. Just worry about this thing. This thing. Lord, how to get over this habit, this smoking, this issue, this mindset. Don't worry about tomorrow. If you're not doing it right now, that means I'm helping you today. Think about it. If you're able to pray, Lord, give me victory, that means you're not doing the thing you're praying about right at that moment. Stop worrying about tomorrow. I got you right now. Stop chasing these false gods that borrows God's ability like Buddha. His dying words will work out your own salvation with fear and diligence. Borrow Philippians 2:12 that says work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Which means he died not believing in the things that people are believing in right now. You see, it's that little element that the devil hid from the world, where you have people from Hollywood to the hood worshiping somebody. We can't visualize a God who exists in dimensions beyond our own, but we can look at a model of the universe, which there are fewer dimensions than ours, and we can extrapolate that there's an extra dimensional God. He keeps himself distant from us, so we can't figure him out. Because once we figure him out, he seems to become God, and that way we can do everything that he can do. So that way, he keeps himself in other dimensions because we keep on thinking how we can become like God. And since we can't become like him, then we will invent them out of wood and stone and people and girlfriends and marriages and jobs. And God says, listen, they are not gods because they have to exist between time and space. In other words, you can work on your job and you still can be fired from that space. Then you got to use your time to find another job. Am I right about it? He said, no, with God, he said, I got everything worked out. Don't worry about your life. He said, listen. I'm just telling you how much time you got down here on earth, not forever. He says in Psalms, I believe it's around the 90th division, he said a man is given 7 years, and by reason of strength, I give you 10 more years. And we're trying to do the best we can with the no years to have the much fun we can at a young age, at an old age. No. He said, I'm just giving you time to know me. Once you accept me, then we have eternity all together. So don't limit yourself to that piece of space and time. So I'm going to send Ezekiel. He's going to break it down to you so you can understand that when Job says, listen, touching the Almighty, we can't find him out in the 37th chapter, verse 23. He is excellent in power and in judgment and plenty in justice. He will not afflict us The devil afflicts us. Lamentations 3 verse 33 says that God does not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men. An enemy has done this. So what am I trying to say? God exists outside the dimensions of this universe, creating both the spatial and temporal dimensions which we operate. We understand that. God he models who he is. He describes and shows that an entity can see and interact with everything that happens in a lesser dimension of the universe, talking about this world, ours. Not only can he interact anywhere in this universe, but he can act at any time. Past, present, or future. You understand? He never runs out of time because he's self-existent. So we want to rush God because we feel we're running out of time. But God is not limiting the time. Lord, will you go ahead and bring this one? I need to get married. I'm getting old now. He said, don't rush me. I got you. Don't go ahead of me because you got to remember, success is getting what you want. But happiness is being happy with what you get. Come on. The church said, don't rush me. I got it for you. He is amazing in his ability to extend and be far beyond what we could ever imagine. So when I go in 2 Chronicles and I read about Solomon building this temple where God said, build a place where I can dwell. And then he realized the massiveness of God. He says, but who is able to build him a house, seeing that the heavens of heavens cannot contain him? The only thing I can do is burn sacrifices in this house. It's just simple physics. God cannot be contained. He's in the past, present, and future all at the same time. He tried to break it out in that light that Ezekiel saw, but before we move on to the vision, let's talk about the light. Light travels at 386,000 miles a second. If you divide it up in days, you're looking at, by the time 386,000 miles per second. A light year is a distance that light travels in a year, which is 4.88 trillion miles. You got it? Which means if we try to count from 1 to 1 trillion, we would physically die of old age. Which means we're limited to the time that we started counting and the space in which the body we live. But since God is not limited to time or space, and he's spoken into existence, and he's cross-dimensional, past, present, and future, he can say, let me break it down to you. Before you call, I will answer. And while you're yet speaking, I will hear. Because I will have to travel to you because I'm everywhere at the same time. So when you're in a situation that you cannot get out, you're trying to wait until you feel that I'm there with you. If I'm everywhere at the same time, then I'm with you before you even started praying. I knew what you were going to pray before you prayed it because I know the future and I'm living in the past. You understand? And I let you think that I'm just showing up in the present so you'll feel some encouragement in your situation. I limit myself to your dimension so you'll know I love you in your world. You got it? Do you got it? He lets us understand who he is and how he comes to our lives by that virgin girl married a 13-year-old girl that the Holy Spirit came down inside. He said, I'm going to break it down to you in a spiritual way. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man open the door, I will come into his dimension and talk with him and he with me. When you got the picture, I'm going to keep on doing my business with everybody else. So there it was, Ezekiel. He's standing there near the Chamar River. He sees the vision of God. He said, I'm looking, and it's like a cloud approaching, and it starts to envelop and open up, and I'm looking inside, and I see this cloud coming, and I see fire all around this cloud. Lightning coming out to and fro. And it's coming towards me, and I keep on looking, and I see 4 creatures. They're getting bigger, and I see their legs like polished bronze, their feet like a calf. He's trying to tell something to young folk who are at the river. As they're getting closer, I see lightning flashing to and fro all around them. And it's still getting closer. And I look beside them and I see a wheel and another wheel in a 90-degree angle. I'm looking at the wheel, and as it's got these spinning rims, I see eyes all around the rims. God sees But his scene is not like we think he sees. We think God is watching everything we do so he can smash us. And he's trying to tell us that I see everything you do because my eyes see wisdom and I can see a way out that you cannot see. And so he said, everywhere the beings move, the wheels move. Remember that? He said, when they went up, the wheels went up. When they went to the side, the wheels went to the side. And they went everywhere where the Spirit under their wings guided them to go. Remember that? Remember that? Helping us understand that God will take these creatures wherever he wants them to go and wherever he brings them to. And we understand that they represent the four breakdown tribes of the children of Israel. At the same time, the truth in God's sanctuary. So now we're going deeper than the man's face and the lion's face and the ox's face and the eagle's face. He said, listen, I'm going deeper now as we conclude this vision, Ezekiel. I'm talking about who I am now. I know that you may sometimes act like a man, but I want you to act like you're under the control of the Holy Spirit, because my job is to change into my image. So yes, you may act like a man, brother. You may act like a sister girl, but I want you to act like me. You understand what I'm talking about? And so I'm going to help you. I'm going to set up your life, and I'm going to take you in situations that would cause you not to look like me. And I'm going to move you out of the way and let somebody else take that hit. Because I got something better for you. Somebody got that. Oh, yeah. So God is guiding. He said, now, I'm putting my character inside of you so when people look at your face, they'll see me. Got it? He said, even though you may act like a lion, I'm going to give you the respect of one. So when you walk down the street, when I was in Africa, I met a person who was telling me about the Shaka Zulu warrior. And he said that brother is so powerful that when he walked down the street and walked past us, we could feel his power emanating from within him. And when I went to pet that lion before I put my hand on his body, I could feel the power emanating from him. And God has said, that's what I want you to be like. When people see you, they sense your presence. In physics, it's called black body radiation, which means everybody has an atmosphere around them. You've been around people, as soon as you get in their presence, you know, I don't know, there's something wrong with them. That means there's some darkness going on. We understand what radiation is. We may not know it, but the most radioactive piece of fruit that we eat is a banana. It has radiation in it, but it's good radiation to build up our bodies. And God said, listen, when you look at that ox or that bull, I want you to be respected because of the strength that governs your life, which is not you, it's me. And all about that eagle. He said, I got him facing back, but he actually is moving forward. We talked about how the eagle, female, chooses her mate during the week. Remember that? But now let's forget about how she chooses her mate. Let's look at that 10-foot circumference nest that she builds. She gets the twig, she puts that thing together because in her mind she's going to have chicks in that nest. And while she's building, she's plucking out her own feathers with her talons and putting it all across the nest to make sure that when the chicks are born, they can have a soft place to live. And so while she's building, she's taking out her flesh to make sure that there's a comfortable place to live. And while he's saving, he's bleeding on a cross to make sure we have a comfortable place to live. And so while she's doing that, she's watching that eagle grow in the nest. But there comes a point where it's time to get out the nest. Look at how an eagle stirs the nest, but we may not understand what she does while the eagle's on one side of the nest, enjoying the nest. She's taking those same towels and taking those same feathers, putting them over the side of the nest. Putting him over the side of the nest. And the same things that made him comfortable, her comfortable, is now being removed. And she stirred that nest to make it uncomfortable so they won't be more comfortable with the nest than the sky. And when it comes time, she gets him to the edge of that nest, don't want to get out, everything is so comfortable, and she kicks that bird out. It's time to get out of here. There's a bird in there, and it's staying too long because you're making them too comfortable. It's time to get out of the house and be with God created him to be. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. God is saying, I'm stirring up things in your life that you enjoyed and you're having such a good time, but I'm making it uncomfortable with the group of friends that you're with. I'm making it uncomfortable with the job that you're on. I'm making you uncomfortable at the church that you're attending. I'm making you uncomfortable in the seat that you're sitting right now because I see you higher than you are right now. I see you at a level that you never thought you could fly. and I got to make you uncomfortable. Well, you're getting out of the comfort zone. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. He said, you know what? I got the wheels. I understand that they're moving under God's control to direct our lives so we can be like him. But I saw a crystal expanse that was so beautiful and sparkling that was above the heads of the creatures. And then above that, I saw a throne made of sapphire. And it was beautiful. And God was giving me some sign language. Why sapphire? Sapphire is the second hardest gem under diamonds. It is used to grind and to polish. So what God was saying is, just like this sapphire is shining, you're going to shine. But I'm going to grind out that hurt. I'm going to grind out that pain. I'm going to grind out those addictions. I'm going to grind out the regrets that's keeping you from shining. And when I get finished polishing you, you're going to shine like the firmament in the sky. And that's what God was trying to tell us. That's what He told Ezekiel to those folk who were in captivity. He said, listen, you got to keep moving forward. But I know you can't do it all in package. I know you've been trying to get rid of stuff since 1844, and it's making a great life. Your life now, great disappointment, but there's going to be a great movement in your life. I'm going to take those things that were taking you down, grind them off, and you're going to find yourself flying higher, flying higher. You lost weight that you couldn't get rid of. How are you going to do it, Lord? Pay attention to the last part of that vision, that thought. Just like I promised them, my friends over in Genesis, that I will not destroy the world again by water. It's going to be by fire. But it's a promise in the sky. It's going to be shaped just like the wheels that you saw on the ground. 42 degrees for red, 40 degrees for violet. He said, when you look at their different colors, you'll see the promise. What are you talking about? He said, I got it. He said the red in there symbolized blood and sin, but also sacrifice and courage. He said, listen, listen, listen. Yes, yes, yes. He was bruised for our iniquities, chastised, but our peace was upon him. He said it's going to take courage to die to cleanse us from sin. He said, when you see this red, it will not be your blood shed, it will be mine. Because I'm going to use it to cleanse you, just like blood stains, it cleanses. You understand what I'm talking about? When you see the yellow amber that we talked about, it means that God will strengthen. And I'm letting you know day by day, when you want to try and live right in school, you're trying to do right at home, and you're tempted to do bad, and you still do good, it's not by might, not by power, but it's by my spirit. I will help you to live right. When you see the orange, it is nourishment. I will give you what you need to keep on growing. And the green is going to be a promise, because as I nourish you to grow, the green says that you will get the victory. You will get the blessing. You will get the deliverance. And it is a covenant between you and I that I will not break. Every time you see it in the sky, or when you watch a car and the water is going down the sewage drain and you see a little rainbow on the ground, I don't care how far you fall or how low you go, I'm there with you. You understand what I'm talking about? You just got to see the vision, like God was trying to help us by watching little children. He used children in the Bible to help us understand about time and space. He helps us to understand that even though you're in situations that you cannot handle, you got to keep on moving, keep on pushing, and you got to keep on moving forward. Even when you feel like you're doing it all by yourself. You remember Florence Chadwick? She's the one that swam the English Channel. Now she's swimming that 26-mile stretch off the coast of California, the Catalina Islands. That coastline, she's swimming 26 miles. She's swam before, she's doing her thing, she's swimming, but then the fog sets in. And the winds start moving. And the waves start crashing. And she's getting tired. She's only 15 miles, but now she's fatiguing. She fought it. She stretched. The fog came in. She couldn't see the coastline. She said, I'm tired. They picked her up out of the water, put her in the boat. She's breathing heavy. Didn't realize that she was only 1 mile from the coast. Sometimes we're in the water and we want people to pull us out. take us to a better house, take us to a better marriage, take us to a better church. No, God says keep on swimming. Keep on swimming. You're closer than you think. She gets it 3 months later. Does the same thing. She's swimming, and all of a sudden the same thing that happened 3 months earlier happens again. The fog starts to settle in. The wind starts to blow. The wave starts to crash against her body, and she just keeps on swimming. She just keeps on swimming. She just keeps on swimming. She makes it to the coast. They asked her, how did you make it? She said, this time I saw the vision of the coastline. And even though I could not see it visually with my eyes, I saw it with my mind, and I kept on moving forward. He tried to tell us, though the storms keep on raging in my life, and sometimes it's hard to tell night from day, still that hope that lies within is reassured as I keep my eyes on the distant shore. Billows may roll, breakers may dash, I shall not sway because he holds me fast. So dark the day, I see clouds in the sky, but I know it's all right. For Jesus is nigh. My soul is anchored in the Lord. Keep on moving forward. Lord, I can't see. I don't have to see that voice now. I just keep moving. The wind is going to come under my wings. I'm going to fly, and I'm going to reach my destiny. Amen. Hallelujah. Faith, as you have faith as a little child, you can't see the shore. You got to see the destination. You got to keep your eyes on the Lord. But he broke it down. He didn't say you got to have faith like Moses and Joshua. No. He didn't say you got to have faith like Ruth or faith like Mary. He said like a little child. What are you talking about, Pastor Miller? Come here just for a second, Jacob. Can you hand me Praise God. God is good, isn't he? Amen. What is his name? Jacob. How many times did I call Jacob? Once. Here you go, Jacob. Here's some money. Thank you, Jacob. God has been calling that name once, twice, 3,000 times. And he wants us to have the faith like a little child. He didn't know what I was going to give him. All I ask you to do is when you hear me call your name, just come on down. We hesitate for years because we think God's going to put out a switch or a belt. He's going to put it to us. He said, I've been trying to give you this reward for years, but you thought you knew my time and space, and you stayed in your location because you want to put off what you thought was discipline. He said, I've been trying to put a blessing in your life for years, and you mistook my voice for somebody who used you when you moved out of your time and space. He said, but unless you have the faith of a little child, you cannot enter into the kingdom of God. So when I call you to move forward, move, because I have a blessing for you. And if you want the blessing of God in your life right now, that he's been trying to give you for years, stop trying to judge what's on the heart of God. He said, my thoughts towards you are not like your thoughts towards me. He said, listen, higher than the highest heavens are my thoughts above your thoughts. He said, I loved you with an everlasting love that crossed the dimensions of time and space. And it is with this type of love that I'm drawing you. That's what I want you to understand. You are so close to the shore, but you're letting the winds of life push you back. He said, the just shall move forward by faith. You are closer than you think. Not to your deliverance, as they say, your destiny. No, you're closer to Jesus. And when you have Jesus, you have everything. You see it now? My destiny may be able to have this BMW or this Mercedes-Benz. But if you go and get a destiny and get that Mercedes-Benz before God gives it to you, then it will be exactly what the name says on that card. Mercy, these payments are killing me. Am I right about it? Am I right about it? God has it already worked out. But you don't have to sacrifice blood for life. Get the picture now? He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and none of these payments will be added to it. Is the Lord good? Isn't he good? He just says, when I call you, move forward. I don't know what God has for you. I'm not God. I didn't even know what he had for me. But when Elder C.D. Brooks gave that appeal call and I started moving forward, something happened that I did not expect. I was sitting in the back with my shades on, trying to be cool. Tears was rolling down my cheeks. I didn't be cool, Brother White. You see what I'm talking about? And he said, move. And I got up and I started moving. But the closer I got to the altar, the lighter I felt. It was not some metaphysical experience. It was God lifting the burden as I came to give it to him. It was the encouragement of God on my soul. And God is calling you right now to move forward. He's got something he wants to give to you from his heart. It is cleansing. It is deliverance. It is the right people and the right things. But don't confine God to our space and what we think it means. He loves us. He's bigger than we could ever imagine. And right now, he's calling you by name to come out of your seat, to submit it to Jesus, and he'll have something awesome for you. But I need you to move now. It says heaven rejoices when we come to God. So here's your home. Whatever it is, God is calling you to commitment. He's calling you to baptism. Whoever you is the name or the impression he's put on your heart. He's calling you some of us back to have our past washed away through rebaptism. He's calling some of us to be filled with his spirit, washed with his blood. But I'm telling you, he's causing you to move forward. So I plead with you now. Don't look at it as a spiritual exercise. God is trying to get you out of that position to a better one. And he said, just move forward. Forward means progress in whatever direction God is leading you in your life. And you may not even be dissatisfied with your life. But if he's impressing you now to move, that means he has something better. And he just used the pleasant blessing to motivate you to receive a future blessing. Praise God. Let my sister record it. Lord, I surrender my life to you. transition all of our lives. And you spoke through Ezekiel to us today. The reason why you gave that vision in the sky and not on the ground, because you want to exist in a dimension of power and grace that we could never achieve on the ground under our own strength. But as we look up over the hills from whence cometh our help cometh from the Lord. And so, Father, you want us to continually be looking up if we want to move forward. We can't look back and make progress. Help us, Lord, to forsake all things and let us run this race with patience, keeping our eyes on the goals and the prize that are set before us, letting us know that though we cannot see the shoreline, we're closer there than we think. It may take one more stroke, one more step, but keep it moving forward. One more prayer, one more prayer, one more hallelujah, one more fast, one more reading of your word, and we have the victory in Jesus. Please be with these awesome young people. They want to move forward. If they don't have the power, Lord, give them the strength. They're trying their best, dear God. They're in here today saying and singing, I personally want to move forward. Our family that has come down, your family that has come down today saying, forward our march. There's some, Lord, are still in their seats. They made up their mind. They're going to move forward. So help them, Lord, when the challenges come, to keep it moving. Help them to understand when you bless them mightily, to thank